What's the Score on the Blue Room in conjunction with Fansbet. I am joined this week by Dave Downey. It's another weekend of Premier League fixtures and another crunch match for Everton, Dave.
Yeah, it is. I think we've been all here before, haven't we? This international break's been total bliss, though, I have to say.
Yeah, it's not been great from an Everton perspective.
Well, we're 8 games into a season, and we're still, wishing away Premier League games, waiting for the next international break. But nonetheless, it's a home game that we should really be getting up for, because I personally think the manager's future's on the line this weekend. Simple as that, really. If it's not, then it's certainly close to being the next few games. You're thinking this would be a big part of it, a home game against West Ham. The side that we've done the best against in the Premier League as well, so they'll have that little bit of a backdrop behind them. Yeah. They also ran riot at Goodison last year, didn't he? With the signing we should have made about 600 times. Yarmolenko bagging a couple for himself, a couple of really good goals as well. And they've been a decent side this year, really good, particularly at home. I know they had the setback against Crystal Palace, but they look dangerous. Yarmolenko's back. Felipe Anderson got a lot of pace on the break. It's going to be a really difficult game. And, many people would say on paper, it's the type of opponent Everton would want at home to sort of get the crowd going. It's not going to be the easiest of games, but I think this is a really dangerous game for us. Yeah, it is.
Just as a little refresher in case anyone's forgotten about that game last season, here it is.
Arnautovic with the layoff for Obiang. Back with Arnautovic. He's got a run on goal, and here's Yarmolenko to put West Ham in front. Just 10 minutes in, and on his first Premier League start, Andrei Yarmolenko, the Ukrainian international, gets his first West Ham goal. Good work by Digne. Ball in is brilliant, and the header from Cenk Tosun is held at the second attempt by Lucas Fabianski. What a delivery this is. Given away really by Everton here. Yarmolenko. Still Yarmolenko, 2-0. Well, Everton, creators of their own downfall there, because it was an initial ball out by Pickford that was picked up by West Ham, and Everton have been punished by the Ukrainian. And Everton really need a response before half-time. Digne's driven ball in, just doesn't break Everton's way. Seeking out Walcott, first time ball in, had to be touched over by Fabianski. Walcott has been the Everton threat down that right today. And Everton pick up possession here with Cenk Tosun. Something might materialise here for the Blues. Tosun goes alone, and Fabianski makes the save. Big chance that for Everton. Bernard again. Idrissa Gueye. No room to hit it, so brings in Kenny. Kenny's ball, Sigurdsson's header, that is what Everton wanted! On the day he captains the side, Gylfi Sigurdsson plants a very important headed goal for the Blues. Obiang. In for Arnautovic. Obiang again. Arnautovic. 3-1 West Ham. Just when Everton were really battling their way back into this, Marco Arnautovic strikes at the park end. Lucas Digne to try and put it back into the danger zone. He does, and it's off the crossbar. Calvert-Lewin's effort, so close to getting Everton back in it again. Meanwhile, Niasse inside the penalty area here. It was here Niasse who actually got the touch, in fact, over Calvert-Lewin, and Niasse off the crossbar. It's a good ball in by Lucas Digne again, and Niasse oh so close for Everton. 5 minutes of stoppage time are just about up, and the game is up for Everton. It's a first defeat of the season.
So yeah, there was last season's horror show with Goodison, Yarmolenko running the show as inevitably he was going to. Just looking back at that, it feels like we're in a very that was a really unexpected result last season, I think, at the time. But it feels like we're sort of in that sort of malaise again now this season. And it's like, as you said before, this is the ideal game for us on paper, because historically, we've played 140 times. Everton have won 70. Everton won half the times games we played against West Ham, drawn 30, and West Ham have won 40. So we're well up on them. But the way things are in the league, I mean, we're 18th and West Ham are 8th. There's still only 5 points between us, amazingly, which just shows how bad the league's been this season. So we can make up some ground on them, but our form going into it's obviously dreadful.
Well, yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because the league is condensed.
Yeah.
And from one point of view, I think it's a bit of a saving grace, certainly for Marco Silva, that a couple of wins get you back into that fold for probably Europa League qualification. But on the frustrating side of things, had we done better so far, we could be, and certainly judging by the fixtures, we could have been far and away, in the hunt at least for fourth. I mean, West Ham got beat by Crystal Palace just before.
Sorry, Matt's just at the window there.
What a fantastic professional production this is. We'll leave this in the video as well. Here's Matt here.
Stay behind the camera.
With his yellow water bottles. No, what I was saying was, with the league being so condensed, you look at the opportunities missed, given the fixtures we've had too.
Yeah.
That is where the frustration kicks in all the more, I think. Seeing as an 18th, which is not where we'll finish. I don't have relegation fears whatsoever. No. Maybe famous last words, I know, but I don't.
Can't wait for the championship myself.
If Marco Silva's still a manager in 7 months' time, I've no doubt that we'll be away from the relegation zone. It's just a question of the progress, I think, that you measure it up against, and the fact that West Ham themselves could have gone third, I think, if they'd have beaten Crystal Palace at home. It just shows how concertinaed it is towards the top end of the league table, with the exception of Liverpool, who are flying. You look at Man United, they play Man United at the weekend. I actually think, could we go level on points with Man United if we win?
Potentially we can, yeah. I mean, they're another team, they can't score an open play.
Well,
they scored 1 goal last month and it was a penalty.
Yeah, and it was voted goal.
Yeah.
The only option they had to vote in as goal of the month. God knows what happens if you don't score a goal. Yeah. What gets goal of the month?
Throw in or something.
But yeah, I mean, it's a real type of game. I think that when you're in this situation, it almost counts double if you can pick up the victory. Obviously not in terms of tangible points, but I mean in terms of like getting yourselves some confidence, some momentum built up. We've got a really tricky time down at Brighton the week after as well. And I don't think that gets any easier if you don't do something in this game.
Oh God, no. I mean, the thing for me, just going back on that, is we're going up to every game now saying, well, if we can get some points in this one, we're still not cut adrift, and we're still, we can catch up with these, or we can catch up with these, and we're not doing it. And as you say, we're going to Brighton away next week as well, and the fixtures then get markedly harder towards from December, isn't it, really? They get markedly harder, so we really need to do something. I've just heard before, I think Fabian Delph's out for this one. So then that limits the midfield again. Kabamen's out for another 3 months, so we can just write him off for the rest of the season. Do you think he'll change it, or do you think he'll stick with what he's going with again? I mean, it's like, it's getting as boring as the zonal marking last season, this conversation, but I think until he changes it, I can't see anything changing.
I think it'd be really bold, and dare I say the word brazen, if he was to stick with the team that has done so poorly in the last 4 games. That being said, I was feeling a situation that Matt, who's just walked in now, uses a really good analogy, and he said it's like walking a tightrope all the time. And I think that you can use that analogy here, because I think Marco Silva, if he's to fall one side of it and die on his sword, it's like, well, he's been far too stubborn, as we know. He hasn't been pragmatic whatsoever in his selection, but nonetheless, he would hang his hat on saying, well, I stuck to my philosophies, and at least he's stayed true to them. The
thing is, though, is this his philosophy? Because it didn't seem to be until he turned up at Everton.
Yeah, it's that's where
it's bizarre.
The conversation does take a complicated turn. Yeah. But if he's to fall the other side of that tightrope, conversely, change things up, and that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay, you're able to say to fans, well, look, I've tried to change things up and things aren't working. Who do we blame now? But then you start thinking, well, it's catch-22. If he'd have stuck with it, maybe it would have finally worked and clicked like it did last season. I mean, he would say, if he was sat here now and honest with every one of us, he would say that we should back him because he's got us out of a situation that maybe not as downbeat in terms of feeling as this last season, but certainly one that results-wise was pretty grim at the same time. So it's such a crucial game, and I'd love a penny for his thoughts on what he's been deliberating over the last couple of weeks, particularly in that midfield. If Delph's out, Gabaman's out, Gomez, thankfully, looks like he's made it through the international break unscathed. I don't know if he started that up or played any part in Portugal's second game.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not sure if he got on or not, but certainly there'd be no injury reports from that. So he'll be in there fresh, you would think, against a real combative side too. So it's a question of, does he stick with Morgan Schneiderlin? I mean,
I never would.
Marco, you could change this. I'll give you the free pass on this. You could change this up and put anybody else in, get battered 4-0, and I'd be okay that Morgan Schneiderlin didn't play the game. So he's, either way, I'm happy for him just not to play Morgan Schneiderlin in there.
Yeah, I think for me, Morgan Schneiderlin sort of saps the team out, saps the energy out the team he's playing for at the minute, because he just slows things down that much, and his passes are so just negative, aren't they? It's just a little pop back to the player who you give it to, and I think he just saps any momentum the team could possibly have. So hopefully that will be a change he makes. I'm not convinced he's going to change it at all. I think he's sort of gone so far down this route now, he's just going to go, do you know what? This is my team. This is my system. This is what I've got to play with. And I think it's going to be the same again. In which case, I'll probably do a U-turn in the tunnel at 11:30 when I hear the team news.
But in the same vein as I've just explained about it being a tightrope in regards to the risks of doing either eventuality, I think the rewards are probably also double too. If he gets it right with the 4-2-3-1, we come out with a reinvigorating performance and we put West Ham to the sword and get a really decent home win, the likes of which we probably haven't seen this season. I know Wolves was probably our best performance so far this season, and we just scraped through that. There were problems at the back there, as we know. If he comes out with a victory to that sort of style, or if he any sort of victory really, and has played that 4-2-3-1 and had Morgan Schneiderlin in there, he'll go a long way, and not in the minds of Evertonians, because I think some are set that they don't want him there, but I think in many people's view, they would say, well, okay, that is at least a stay of execution because he's stuck by his philosophy. It's worked on this occasion. Then all attention turns to Brighton. Yeah. If he changes it and we win the game, I think that's where he gets the most out of this. If we were to go and get a victory, if you were to say to him, what's the perfect scenario, and he's in the mindset of, I'm going to change things up because it's got too stagnant for whatever reason over the last few weeks. If he gets a victory, say playing a 4-3-3 or even a 4-4-2 and puts Calvert-Lewin alongside Moise Keane, then you look at it and think, well, all fans will feel happy because they're vindicated in saying you've got to change the 4-2-3-1, and also he can feel vindicated in the fact that he's the right man to take this club forward because the players have adapted to a new style. So I think the rewards are there, but the risks are there too. So it's such a real knife edge of a game.
It is, yeah. I think managers have really got to get over this thing that they seem to have, specifically at Everton, that changing things is a bad idea. There's no shame in changing your system. There's no shame in saying, do you know what, that's not working, let's try something else. I think for me, certainly, he will get a lot more leeway now if he did change it and it still went wrong. It's like, well, okay, that was never working anyway. We tried something else. But I think it's going to be a close game either way. So let's look at our predictions. Before we get mine and Dave's predictions, I asked Matt and Adam what they thought. Here's what they said.
Okay, then West Ham at the weekend for the Toffees. Feels like absolutely ages ago since they played against Burnley. Difficult one, really difficult one this, I think. I can't see Everton losing this game. I think the crowd will rally behind them, the team are responding kind. But I also don't necessarily think they've got it in them to get the win against a dangerous West Ham side. So I'm going to say it's going to be a tough game. I think it might be 1-1. I think they'll score. I think Haller is going to be a big problem for us in our defence. They've got some tricky attacking plays as well. But I think the Toffees will get on the score sheet. Maybe through an unlikely source, someone like Yerry Mina, to get his first goal of the season. But fingers crossed, the Blues can get the job done.
Massive chance for Everton to put things right this weekend against West Ham. Seems like a lifetime since our last 3 points in the Premier League, 4 on the bounce now. West Ham have had a good start to the season. Granted, they did slip up just before the international break, but as optimistic as I try to be and as confident as ever, or stupid you could say, I do think the Blues will grind out a result this weekend. I fancy us to win 2-1 and for Richarlison to get the first.
So both said it was going to be a close game. Adam went for 2-1 to Everton. Matt went 1-1 in the end. Dave, what do you reckon this one's going to go like?
I think we'll creep over the line. I mean, I've said in our some of our shows this week that I think this is a really dangerous game. And if anybody's thinking that we should take West Ham lightly, because they should be there for us to beat, given our record against them generally in the Premier League is quite good, like I said before. I think they're a really dangerous side, and I think they'll do well this season. I think they'll be a top half side comfortably. Whether it's enough to get in the Europa League, we'll see. Hopefully we dent that and make an impression on the league table to that end. But I think we'll win this. I think we'll scrape through it 2-1.
Yeah. Scorer?
I can't remember who I've written down, Liz.
Calvert-Lewin.
Calvert-Lewin was, yeah. I need Calvert-Lewin because I actually think...
This isn't scripted at all, by the way.
It's not. You can tell it's off the cuff, which is why it's so good. I believe that he'll stick with the 4-2-3-1.
Yeah.
I think it'll infuriate everybody. I think as soon as somebody misplaces a pass or it goes out for a throw-in, there will be pandemonium in the stands at Goodison. But nonetheless, I can see him getting a stay of execution, and I think we'll win the game 2-1. And Calvert-Lewin, I think you always see a lot of things come home to roost in games like this, and a lot of ironies, and football seems to work that way, as if it's almost meant to be type of thing. So, look, if he's to go down, it'll be 3-4-5-0 to West Ham, and that'll be the end of Marco Silva at Everton, I believe. But if he scrapes through and, dare I say, even Morgan Schneiderlin gets a goal, who knows, at the right end, then possibly it's the way things work in football, so it wouldn't surprise me at all. So that's why I've gone for Calvert-Lewin.
Fair enough. I've sort of gone a bit more downbeat, same as Matt. I've gone for 1-1. With Richarlison getting a goal. Matt's doing the camera behind the camera.
Yeah. I was just thinking, if we could collate all the scores we've gone for this season. Yeah. Obviously, nobody's going to back an Everton defeat. In reality, are they?
Oh, we did. Me and Matt did against Man City.
Oh, fair enough, Man City maybe. But I'm just thinking, what position will we be in? We should tally up the points, come up with the league table, and we'll be top with like 104.
I don't think we're quite Mark Lawrenson levels of punditry, but it's not going to be far off.
He's done 38 wins for Liverpool this season.
I think he's done it for about the past 5 years, hasn't he? So we got some Fansbet Fansboosted odds. If you want to go with Dave's 2-1 and Calvert-Lewin to score at any time in the game, the odds were 20-1, but we Fansboosted odds to 25-1, so £10 gets you £250 back if that comes in. For my 1-1 with Richarlison to score at any time, that was 25-1, but we fans boosted those odds to 30-1, which means £10 on that. Get you £300 if it comes back. Remember, you can only put a maximum of £25 on the Fans Boost bets, and please remember to gamble responsibly. Go to Fansbet to put any of those bets on, or put, if you think something different's going to happen. We've both gone, everyone at the Blue Room's gone for 2-1 or 1-1 on this video. If you think something different's going to happen, put a bet on that.
Yarmolenko 3-0, as I joked to Les in the WhatsApp group the other day.
It's going to happen.
That'll be a decent price.
Yeah, it will actually be
just saying.
Decent price, yeah. And remember, when you do put a bet on with Fansbet, 50% of their profits go back into fan causes, so you're putting a little bit back as well as hopefully getting some out as well. That's all for now. That's it for this week's. Thanks to Dave for joining us. We will be back with post-match, and we'll be back on YouTube with What's the Score next week. Thanks for watching. See you next time.